Hi, I'm Greg from the Scary Spirits Podcast, and tonight I'm going to show you how to make the Spooky Skull Cocktail, which is the featured cocktail in tonight's episode. But please remember, I'm not a bartender, I just play one on the internet. Alright, so we're going to start with a glass, some ice. In that glass, we're going to add 1.5 ounces black spiced rum. I don't have black spiced rum, but I have spiced rum. So that's what we're using. Then we're going to use 1 ounce amaretto almond liqueur. I love this stuff. I'm going to need to get some more. Then we're going to add 5 ounces of apple juice. Then, it's optional, but you can add some black food coloring. I made my own. You can too. Look up the recipe on the internet. It's red, blue, green, different amounts of each. And we stir. Like so. And serve. That's pretty good. You can really taste the amaretto almond liqueur. Works well with the apple juice. I dig it. So that's how you do it. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoy the podcast. See ya.
Welcome to the Scary Spirits Podcast. Please be advised that the presenters may use adult language and or discuss adult situations. This podcast is not intended for younger listeners or those that may be easily offended. So if you're ready, let's go. Hi, I'm Greg.
And I'm Karen.
And welcome to episode 5 of the Scary Spirits Podcast. Karen, can you believe we've made it to episode 5?
Sure, of course. We're on fire. What are you talking about?
Well, for those who may be joining for the first time, why don't you tell everyone listening what exactly is the Scary Spirits Podcast?
The Scary Spirits Podcast joins the wildly different yet highly compatible worlds of scary movies and alcoholic spirits. What could possibly go wrong?
Yes. What could possibly go wrong?
We haven't had anything go really wrong yet.
That the listeners know about.
It's true.
Maybe some heavy editing has been done, but maybe not. They don't know. Right?
I don't know either. Only you know. So that brings to point, if I sound like an idiot, Greg edited me that way. If he sounds brilliant and I sound like a dumbass, it's all because of the editing. Trust me.
Yeah, that's it.
Totally. 100%.
That's right. Karen, what I believe you picked this movie, didn't you?
I did.
What is this week's movie?
This week's movie is The Screaming Skull.
Would you like to give a brief description?
First, let me tell you, I picked this movie totally on this description. And The Screaming Skull is starring John Hudson, Peggy Weber, and Russ Conway. It's 1958, black and white, unrated. And here's the description that's in the horror classics insert. A newlywed couple returns from their honeymoon to the estate of the man's late wife. The bride, a wealthy but extremely neurotic woman, uneasily settles into the home, walking the gardens of the estate that are meticulously kept by a strange gardener following the wishes of the deceased woman. The new lady of the house is tormented by the sudden appearance of skulls throughout the house and grounds. Is it the deceased woman coming back to drive her away, or are there more sinister motives behind the skulls? Doesn't that sound really intriguing?
Intriguing. Yeah, I was just about to say intriguing.
It does. It makes you think, I really want to see this movie. And then, after watching this movie, I'm convinced.
Don't ruin it.
I'm not going to. There's no spoilers here. I'm just saying whoever wrote this is like the real estate description person who says there's a cozy handyman special that you want to go and visit. And you think that sounds really good and intriguing. And then you get there and you realize what a cozy handyman special really looks like.
Yes.
At least in my opinion. I'm saying whoever wrote this.
The key phrase being handyman.
Yes.
Special.
They hooked me with this description. And it's not incorrect. The description is not incorrect. I don't want to imply that, but I'm a little, I don't know. We can talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll work it all out.
It's what we do.
And I believe we have a cocktail, do we? Do we have a cocktail for this episode?
Yes, we do. It's the Spooky Skull Halloween cocktail. So this is one serving. Your ingredients are 1.5 ounces of black spiced rum, 1 ounce amaretto almond liqueur, 5 ounces of apple juice, and optional black food coloring or gel. The instructions are pretty darn simple. Combine the ingredients and stir. Could you follow that, Greg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I added serve.
Oh, fancy. Well, you can pour into rimmed glasses, and to make the drink even more black, add a drop of black food coloring or gel.
Yes. Yes, you can.
Do you want to give them time to gather the ingredients?
Yes, we must. That's what we do here. Hold on. And we're back. Hopefully you've got your drink all made and you're enjoying it like we are.
We both added ice. It didn't say to do that, but we did. We're rebels that way.
Should have put it in a iced glass, but I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So before we get started, do we have any errors or omissions or corrections?
Or housekeeping?
Housekeeping.
I don't think so. I don't. Do you?
I would just like to say that I owe you another point from last week's episode.
Yes. I am on fire.
Because we discovered after the episode we finished recording it that you kept comparing the character who played
Herman
Glebe in the vampire bat, correct?
Yes.
You kept comparing him to Renfield from Dracula. You said, I think he reminds me a lot of Renfield. It's like he stole his mannerisms or whatever. So after doing some research.
That was a great impression of me. Awesome.
So after doing some research, we discovered that the actor who played Herman Glebe in The Vampire Bat. His name is Dwight Fry. He is, in fact, the same actor who played Renfield in the 1931 Universal horror film Dracula, as well as Fritz in Frankenstein in 1931. So he kind of made a career of playing these kind of characters. So
Playing Renfield over and over.
yeah.
Are we keeping track? Because I think I'm ahead.
No, I'm not.
Oh.
Oh, you're way ahead.
So the points don't mean anything. Like,
No.
whose line is it anyway?
Correct.
Yeah. Until you start to win, and then all of a sudden it'll take on more.
That is possible. All right. Anything else we need to cover before we get started on the movie?
I don't think so. Let's dive in.
Okay. All right, here we go. The movie opens. Well, first I have to ask. So just so are we watching that? Did we watch the same version? Did you watch it on Amazon Prime or anything like that? Because it is free on Amazon Prime once again, because it is a public domain film and they're usually free. Or did you watch it from the Horror Classics DVD collection?
I did watch it on Amazon Prime because I'm interested to see, since last time there were so many differences. I thought I'd give it a whirl. So yeah, I did watch it on Amazon Prime.
Okay, cool. So jump in anytime you're like, whoa, wait a minute.
Back
That
up
wasn't
the truck.
in my version.
Yes.
And I'll do the same. We open at a funeral scene, a casket with a wreath and candles. And there's a voiceover that says, this film is so scary that they are guaranteeing free burial service for anyone who dies while watching this movie.
Dies of fright, just to be clear.
Sure.
So if you have a heart attack from, or well, I guess you couldn't, that could be a fright, but if you're stabbed or something.
Yeah, if you're murdered in the theater, then they're not paying for it.
Right. You have
But
to
if
die
you
of fright.
natural causes, they'll pay for it.
Well, wait,
What?
the coffin opens and it says
Yes.
reserved for you.
Yes. I mean, it's a casket.
True.
Technically not a coffin. It's a casket.
True. It is a casket.
Then we cut to a scene of what I call a country mansion with a pond. And we hear frogs croaking and there is dry ice bubbling and smoking in the pond.
It's like Froggy's Fog, literally. I'm just going to give a shout out. It is dry ice.
They're not sponsoring us, but
yet.
And then we see a skull pop up out of the water. Correct?
Yes.
And I made a note. The music, I recognize the music.
Really?
Yes, I did. So it's Hector Berlioz. It's his Symphonie Fantastique.
You did not recognize that.
I have notes right here.
Okay.
Only because I played it in drum corps.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
All right.
And it happens to be one of my favorite symphonies as well.
Oh.
They only play like the fourth part of it, which is, I'm not going to try to pronounce it in the French or Italian or whatever it is, but the English translation is Dream of a Witch's Sabbath.
Okay, I can see why you like it.
Yeah, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I made a note, yeah, that's what they're playing, or a ripoff of it, because they kind of changed slightly. So I don't know what they were doing there. If they're actually playing it or trying to get away with ripping it off. Okay, so then we see a Mercedes-Benz driving down the street, correct?
Oh, is that what it is?
Yes, it's got the big, peace-looking sign on the front. That's how I knew it was a Mercedes immediately. It is a mid-50s Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing.
The reason he's spending so much time on this is it is a cool car.
It is a cool car. And the doors lift up.
They can't see that.
I know, but they lift up. I'm putting my arms like a bird. They lift up.
Yeah. So do you think you could get out of a car like that now?
Yeah, I could.
I don't know.
Oh my God, I was in a Mini today, and I can get in and out of a Mini Cooper. I can get in and out of that.
I don't know. You got to get up. Your legs you got to swing them over and then pull yourself up. I don't know. she's in a tight skirt and heels. I don't know. So how much is that car worth? Do you
Oh,
know?
I'm glad you asked, Karen.
Well, I have another reason for asking.
Okay.
How much is that worth back then?
Well, I can't tell you back then, but right now, I can tell you how much one recently sold for auction.
Okay.
Is that good enough?
Yeah.
What do you think?
You're just trying to take points away from me.
Maybe.
68,000.
Nope. $1.15 million.
Dang. Well, because when I saw that car and after watching the movie, I thought to myself, they blew the budget on that car. Either someone owned that in the cast or they blew their entire budget. Because when you watch this movie,
Well, new. Hold on. That car originally sold for about $7,300, which is probably a lot of money back in 1957, 1956.
yeah, we should post a picture of it on the website or something because it's definitely unique.
Yep.
It's like a rock star's car.
Yeah.
It's definitely.
It kind of looks like an old Corvette, too. It looks like Corvette kind of stole.
Well, and it's got the DeLorean doors, right? Isn't that?
Yeah. Well,
So
they lift up. That's why they call it a Gulf wing or gull wing. They made a coupe and a different one, which is more of like a convertible. And there were a lot more of those I found when I was searching for what they sell for now. So I think those may be more popular.
well, I'm just curious. I was curious how much it cost because this is definitely a low budget movie. I mean, if
Right.
you think about it, there's only 5 people total in it, and it's all filmed in the same place.
And one of them is the director.
Is he?
Yes.
Okay. Because they never, even though the characters go different places, they never leave the mansion.
It's two places. Filming. It's 2 houses. And one of the houses is only the exterior.
But it's it's the mansion in the film. It's a mansion and the gardens. And I guess
they also go to the other people's house. You see that from the outside.
Oh, okay. But that could have been a picture.
They could have just drove up to any random house.
Right.
While they were filming and just filmed it. But anyway, we digress.
Yes, we do.
So we see a couple get out of that mid-50s Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing. And we kind of figure out they're newlyweds, correct?
Yes, and they're walking the grounds. She runs over to the peacocks. I want to know why her stiletto heels are not sinking into the ground.
And I want to know why, if they're newlyweds, she's never been to the house.
Well, because he hasn't come back since.
I guess.
I don't know where they've been.
Don't know.
Do you know where does this take place? Do you know? Because they keep. All right.
Don't know. Doesn't really say. I mean, of course, it's filmed in California or wherever, I'm sure.
Okay. I just didn't hear them mention where they were.
I don't think they did. Then they walk into the house and it's empty.
Nothing in it. Nothing.
Zero furniture. And they explain that away by saying that Eric, who we learn is the guy's name, right? The husband's name.
Yes.
His first wife, Marion, was remodeling or something. Wanted to get rid of all the furniture and replace it with something of theirs.
Yes. He said, "This is our home now, and we must choose everything carefully," is what she said.
And he forgets to carry over the threshold, so he picks her up and walks back and then carries her back over the threshold. And then we see a weird guy in the background behind the doors. And we learn that that's Mickey, the gardener.
Yes.
Who is also the director of this film.
Oh, is he?
Yes, this is his directorial debut.
Interesting.
So they're outside and someone pulls up. I think the woman's name, who we learn is Jenny, says, "Who is that?" And Eric says, "Oh, I don't know." So it turns out it's a preacher man and his wife, right?
Reverend and Mrs. Snow.
Yes, the Snows. And they're coming to meet the new wife. Once again, how long have they been dating? How long have they been engaged? She's never been to the house. She's never met any of his
No, but
close
he does.
connections.
Somehow I learned he's been away 2 years.
Okay.
So he hasn't been back to the house for 2 years.
The Reverend and Mrs. Snow decide to stay for dinner, correct?
Well, they brought dinner.
Oh, okay. They brought dinner.
And then they insist, and then Jenny and Eric insist they stay.
Okay, that makes sense. I was kind of wondering, well, how did they make dinner? They got no furniture. They probably got no food.
Right.
So then we cut to Mickey, and he's with a painting of what we learn is Eric's first wife, Marion, correct?
Yeah. Is he talking to it?
Yes, he's talking to the painting and he says, "No, Marion, send them away. No, send them away." That's my impression of Mickey.
Sounds an awful lot like me. Your impression of me, not me.
So then Eric is talking to Mrs. Snow, and she tells Mrs. Snow about Jenny's past and that Jenny's parents drowned in an accident and that she saw it all.
But did you notice he called her very impressionable twice?
Very
2 times.
Impressionable.
Yes, he called Jenny very impressionable.
Very impressionable, yes.
Twice.
He tells Mrs. Snow that she doesn't like to be reminded of unhappy memories. So then while Eric is talking to Mr. Snow or Mrs. Snow.
Yeah, they split up. They each go with one of the Snows.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Jenny is talking to Reverend Snow, and she asks Reverend Snow how Eric's first wife, Marion, died. And they're out by the pond at this point.
And he spills.
Yeah, Eric and Mrs. Snow are inside. Jenny and Reverend Snow are out by the pond. Reverend Snow tells Jenny that Marion fell and hit her head on a cement rock wall surrounding the pond. It was raining and she was running down this hill coming from Mickey's greenhouse, and they hypothesize that she slipped on the wet grass or leaves or mud, fell, hit the wall, and crushed the back of her skull.
He does say the base of her skull was crushed. Of her skull.
Correct. Yes. And then she fell into the water, and that's where she was found by Eric about 10 minutes later.
And he says, right where they're sitting, like right here, they're sitting right where it supposedly happened.
Yep.
Which I thought was, I think I would stand up at that point and possibly move. I don't know. It seemed weird to me.
Then we cut to Mickey in the greenhouse,
where we see that Mickey's not all there.
Right.
He's
kind of remembering what Marion said to him at that time. She said, "Mickey, wait here. I'm going back to the house. I will be back in a minute." I made a note, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. And then she never came back.
Yes, and he was very upset.
Yep, because Marion and Mickey grew up together, right?
They did say that.
Yeah, even though Marion comes from money and Mickey obviously does not. But I guess maybe his family was the groundskeepers before he was.
I think they mentioned that.
Because I get the idea Marion came from old money. So then Jenny tells we cut back to Jenny and Mrs. Snow in the house, and Jenny tells Mrs. Snow that they will come to church on Sunday.
Which Mrs. Snow finds rather amusing.
She says, "Getting Eric to church will be like moving a mountain."
Jenny's confident.
Then we learn that Jenny is very wealthy, just like Marion was. And we also learned that somehow Marion's estate or whatever, after she died, it's all tied up in some legal thing, and all Eric has is the grounds in the house, right? And that's it.
But he's working with the lawyer.
Yeah.
To try to figure it out.
Right. So then we cut to a scene with Mickey by the pond, picking up lily pads in the dark.
As you do.
Poor Mickey.
Poor Mickey.
Then we cut back inside the house, and Eric and Jenny are in their bedroom, and they're sleeping on cots because they have no furniture.
No furniture, no lights, They only have candles. And he's been nice enough to get them 2 separate cots.
Well, yeah, that's what you do.
Is it?
Yeah.
Hey, you were a different newlywed than I was. I'm just going to throw that out there.
Well, in when are we?
58
1958. That's what you did.
in the movies.
Yes. Jenny is reading a book called The Beast in the Jungle. Have you ever read that book, Karen?
No, I have not, but it does exist. It is real.
It does exist. Seems to do with a guy who is convinced that fate is going to deal him a bad hand,
Well, he's waiting for something fantastic.
bad to happen.
I don't think it's bad. I think he's
Yes,
waiting.
it is.
No, because
In the book, we're talking
it
about
says,
the beast in the jungle, right?
yeah, friend
Okay.
who died was the great and wonderful thing he waited for all his life. So he's waiting for something great and wonderful. And it never happens, never happens, never happens. And he has this friend who's a woman, and
Yes.
she passes away, and he's at her grave, and he realizes the great and wonderful thing that happened to him in his life was this friend.
Or the terrible fate that was bestowed upon him is that he never let this woman get close to him because he was afraid he was going to meet some terrible fate, and that ended up being the terrible fate.
Glass half full, glass half empty, whatever.
Saying.
Okay.
My research said that the protagonist is a hopeless fatalist who believes that he is precluded from marrying so that he does not subject his wife to his spectacular fate.
Oh, well, that's not how she described it. I was telling how she
how
described
Jenny
it.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm just telling you what the summary of that story is. It's actually like a short story.
Yeah,
novella.
I think it's a collection of short stories.
Yeah. Then they go to
Kissy
sleep.
face. No, they kissy
Oh yes,
face.
they do, don't they?
And they snuff the candle.
Oh yeah. Yes,
And then
they
they
snuff the candle. Well, they are on their honeymoon, after all, on their cot.
They're on her cot at that moment.
Her
yes.
cot, yes. And then Jenny wakes up to banging sounds in the middle of the night. And Eric is not in his cot. He is nowhere to be found.
He's not in his separate cot.
No, he's not.
So what does she do?
Jenny goes out and tries to investigate and sees if she can find out where the banging noise is coming from. She finally ends up in a room, and there's a window unlatched, and it is banging in the wind. Very rhythmically, the same rhythm over and over again. So then Eric comes in and startles her. And then we see there is a wet lily pad lying on the floor of the room.
With very dramatic music. Did you recognize that? Was it a symphony you knew?
No.
Okay.
No, it was not. Not at this point. And that's when Jenny sees the painting of Marion. So is this the same painting we saw Mickey with earlier?
Yes.
A little confused. I thought Mickey might have had his own painting, or I guess he was in the house when we saw him with the painting.
Right. I think there's one painting.
Okay.
Mickey's back at the pond and says goodnight.
Yeah.
I think he talks.
Yeah. Well,
Mickey talks to the pond.
But before that, Jenny says that the painting of Marion reminds her of her mother.
Her mother, yes.
Yep. And then Mickey goes back to the pond. We see Mickey back at the pond saying goodnight, whatever he's doing.
Because we're trying to frame Mickey here.
Yeah. Then the next morning, Eric is going into town to take care of the phone and the electric and the internet and the cable and,
and all the deliveries of the appliances.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the banking. And then at the evening, he's going to meet with the lawyer, right?
He does. He bans Mickey from the house because he's blaming Mickey for the lily pad.
Okay.
And then he's going to town and he asks Jenny if she wants to go with him. And she, like an idiot, she says no.
Does he?
Yeah, he says,
he actually asks?
Are you sure you don't want to go? And she says no, she wants to try to get Mickey to like her, I guess, or something.
Okay, whatever.
And I have in big things, go with him. And at this point, I noticed that Jenny could have won a few Body Beautiful contests on her own.
Maybe.
She's wearing a Jane Russell bra
Yeah,
in
she
this
is.
scene.
It's not as obvious right now, but it will be later.
It was obvious to me because I wrote it down. So
well, she was
I'm
wearing
watching.
a sweater. It wasn't quite as nice a sweater as Kane's, but it was a nice sweater.
Okay. Not up to your standards, but I already noticed.
Okay. So then Mickey and Jenny are standing by the bushes, and Mickey is doing some trimming of the trees or bushes or whatever. And he almost clips a caterpillar, and Jenny grabs it and saves it and says something about when she was a kid, she used to want to be a caterpillar or something.
Yeah, I didn't really get that, but
Yeah,
I think it's
either.
supposed to show that she's a very sensitive, caring person.
And I think she's trying to make friends with Mickey. She tells Mickey she wants to pick some nice flowers and take it to Marion's grave. And she asks Mickey to show her where it is. So then we cut to the grave. Marion is apparently buried on the premises.
And the marker has her face on it. It's weird.
It's a obelisk, a large obelisk, like a wide, not so much tall, but it's a wide obelisk. And it has her face on it, like a carved effigy, whatever.
Right? And that's it, right?
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's white alabaster stone kind of thing, right. And very delicate. And her face, like emerging from, it's 3D. Right. It's not her face flat in the stone. It's coming out from. It's
like someone took her bust and stuck it on the obelisk.
Yes.
Or
chopped her head off.
Her facial bust.
Yes. Chopped her head off and stuck it in as the cement was well, it's not cement, but as the stone was forming.
Correct. And then Mickey says that he hears, or he tells Jenny that he hears cries in the night. And then Mickey runs away. That's all I have. Do you remember why Mickey ran away?
I just have he runs from the grave.
Okay. And we cut to a scene where Jenny is back in the house looking at the portrait of Marion. Marion looks a lot like Jenny, too, I think. The painting looks a lot like
They have
Jenny.
the same coloring, dark hair and pale skin. So, yeah.
And then while she's looking at the painting, a closet or a wardrobe or something inside the room opens. The doors open. And Jenny doesn't really pay any attention to it at that time. Then she walks down to the pond and we hear the peacocks. And Jenny is sitting on the rocks where, again, Marion fell and crushed the base of her skull right in this very spot.
Why would you sit there? It's just.
And she starts feeling the rocks and the cement where the deed took place. Right?
Yep.
Then we cut to a scene when Jenny is getting ready for bed.
And
she takes off her, I guess she's still wearing her sweater, right? I didn't really notice at this point.
She does. She undresses in the bedroom. So you've got a bra and a slip.
Yeah. And then we see the Jane Russell bra full on in all its glory. Correct?
Yes.
Yes. And then while she's in her bra and her slip, she walks over to the window.
As you do.
There's no curtains because there's no furniture. There's nothing in this house.
Is that
except two cots and a couple tables.
The budget's on fire in this one.
And she opens the window, correct?
And what does she see? The peacocks are in.
Oh, she sees the peacocks? Okay.
Yeah, the peacocks are down there.
I didn't make a note. I just said she goes to the window in her underwear and opens it. That's what I wrote.
So that was probably distracting enough that you didn't see the peacocks.
True enough. Then Jenny goes to bed. She starts having nightmares about Eric and Mickey and the Reverend talking about Marion, right?
Yes, she does.
Just their faces keep coming into her dreams
and saying things
about Marion.
Eric says that Mickey thinks that Marion isn't gone, that she's going to come back.
Yeah.
And Eric makes sure to mention that to Jenny. So that's in the back of her mind. And then that's one of the things that's circulating in her nightmare.
Right.
And then she gets up.
Well, yeah. She wakes up to the peacock's screams.
Yes.
Peacocks, they scream. They sound like screams.
They're noisy.
Yeah. But she runs to the window, but she doesn't see anything. She doesn't see the peacocks, but they wake her up. Or some screams wake her up. She runs to another window in the house, which is the same room where the painting of Marion is.
But wait, she puts on a sheer bathrobe first.
Well, was that what it's called?
I don't know what it's called, but it was sheer.
A sheer cover over her sheer
Nightgown.
nightgown.
Yes.
Right. She's still wearing her Jane Russell bra, though.
Well, it's the movies.
And she runs to the same room where the painting is, looks out the window, and then she sees the peacocks. And at this point, that same wardrobe or closet door opens again, but this time there's a skull sitting there on a shelf.
Yes.
And it freaks Jenny out, and she looks down, and then she sees like bloody scratches on her hand, right?
Yeah, where I didn't see where those came from, but
no, but
they explain it away later.
Explain it later, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we see Mickey is outside standing on the lawn, just standing out there in the dark. And then we see a tree beating against the side of the house in the wind. It almost looks like someone is at the base of that tree shaking it.
It does look like that.
Because it's odd that one tree is the only one banging against the house and shaking so violently. But anyway, so Jenny goes back up to bed.
Which there's a skull.
Yeah, she leaves the skull and
and there's this tree dramatically hitting the window, and she goes back to bed.
Back to bed. Yep. And then she hears footsteps in the house. And right here, I made a note. Oh, they're playing Berlioz Symphony Fantastique.
Okay, it says
Fantastique again.
Dramatic music.
Yeah, they're playing the Witch's Sabbath thing again, which is good stuff.
And the footsteps are getting closer.
Yeah.
And what does she do?
She goes back down to the room where the skull was, along with the painting.
But wait, just back up a minute. Footsteps are coming towards your door.
Mm-hmm.
She gets up and she's going to go investigate. Arm yourself. Get the candlestick. Get something. She just goes in her flimsy nightgown.
Yeah, I did make a note of it this time.
Out the door.
Yeah,
and I have a note. No way I would do that.
Yeah, so she goes back down to the room where the skull is, grabs the skull out of the closet or the wardrobe, whatever it is, and throws it out the window outside, all the while in her sheer nightgown, I wrote.
Which is totally badass. She went down there. They keep talking about how timid she is, how delicate. She went with footsteps coming towards her door, out of her room, unarmed, to the play, and grabbed the skull and threw it out the window.
Yeah, well, they say lots of things. So,
well, I just thought I was impressed with her at that point.
And then we cut to a scene from outside the house, looking at the house. And I noted that the camera seems to take the view of the skull.
Yes, it did.
Like the skull is on its side, then it tilts and pans across the outside of the house. So I got a feeling that, we have the view of the skull now, and the skull is moving and doing supernatural shit, right?
Yes.
So then there is a knocking at the door, right? Is Jenny back in her bed again, or is she?
Yeah. Did you notice the one thing I did notice was distracting is the candle was different heights every time she was in the bedroom.
I kind of looked at.
It bothered me
that, but it seemed to be getting shorter. I didn't notice it getting taller.
There are a couple times it gets taller.
Okay, I did read that later when I was doing research.
I found it a little distracting.
Errors in the movie.
Oh.
Yeah. I tried to pay attention to it, but apparently not enough. I mean, she is in a Jane Russell bra.
That's true. So it's only so much you can do.
So is she back in bed when she hears the knocking at the door?
Yes.
Okay. And then we got Symphony Fantastique again playing. And she slowly goes down to answer the door.
She goes to answer the door.
Slowly.
Well, it's a very revealing scene because she's lit from behind on the stairs.
I said that's some nice lighting during this.
Oh, is that what you wrote? Because I wrote rather revealing walk down the stairs.
Well, I did say, yeah, a little more than that, but because we see the same kind of lighting as Eric is coming down later in the film.
It's not as good.
He cast a long shadow, and they use the same lighting both times. But yeah, I said nice silhouette. That's what I wrote. Nice lighting and nice silhouette. So Jenny gets down to the door and she asks, "Is it Eric? Eric, is that you?" Or whatever. So again, my impression of Jenny. And she opens the door.
No one's there.
And no one's there, but she looks down and sees the skull sitting on the porch or whatever. She screams, she runs back in the house, and the skull rolls in after her like it's chasing her.
I know, yes.
And then we see Mickey coming out of the bushes. It's that damn Mickey.
That's what they want you to think.
So the next scene, Jenny is in bed again.
In a cot.
In a cot. She's in a cot again, back in her cot. And Eric is there trying to wake her up, shaking her, right?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't slap her or anything, right? At this point.
No.
Just trying to shake her and wake her up. And Jenny asks Eric about the skull. And Eric says, there was no skull.
Yeah, but Jenny is convinced that there is no skull. She
Okay.
accepts it as part of her illness coming back, whatever her illness was.
Right.
She says she's never seen things before, but she immediately agrees with Eric that there was no skull, that she's imagining all of it. And she says she needs to return to New York
Right.
and see the doctor.
She
And what does
Eric to call Dr. Rand in New York?
And what does her wonderful new husband say? Did you catch this? He says they shouldn't call the doctor from New York. They need someone who is outside the confusions of our love for each other.
That's right. He does say that.
Which I don't know what that means.
I don't either. But he does. He says that Reverend Snow will be there in the morning.
Yeah,
right?
Because that's a
talk.
great substitute.
Yeah.
For a professional.
Yeah. So the next morning, Reverend Snow comes and he kind of tries to convince Jenny that it is all in her head. At least that's what we see.
But she already believes that.
Right.
That, you know.
And then we learn that Jenny spent a year in a sanitarium when there's a conversation with Reverend Snow. Is it Eric and Reverend Snow talking, or is it Jenny and Reverend Snow?
It's Jenny, because she...
Okay. Yeah, that's right. She tells Reverend Snow that, I spent a year in a sanitarium. That's my impression of Jenny again. That's probably the best one so far.
That is one of the better ones, yes. Could you make me sound like that next time?
I'll try.
Okay.
And Jenny reveals a lot about herself at this point to Reverend Snow. She tells him that she grew up loving her father and hating her mother. She says she used to lie awake at night wishing that her mother was dead and that one day she got her wish.
That's harsh.
They were both drowned. She could still hear them screaming. They were in a boat and it overturned. Jenny saw it all from the shore and she tried to swim out to save them, but the waves were too much for her and her parents' bodies were never found.
Yeah, that's kind of creepy.
Yep.
And she says she feels like she killed them because she couldn't get to them.
But Reverend Snow tries to assure her that she did the best she could. She tried, but she couldn't. And then Jenny says, they told me I was cured. So then we see Eric looking in the bushes for the skull. And he calls out for Mickey, but they can't find Mickey.
Suspiciously missing.
Yeah, like Bruce Wayne. And Jenny suggests they look for Mickey at Marion's grave. And then Jenny and Reverend Snow drive off together. I don't know where they're going. They're going somewhere.
Yeah, Reverend Snow takes Jenny.
Yep. So Eric then goes to Marion's grave. He calls out for Mickey, and Mickey is running away from Eric. We see Mickey running away.
With a severe limp, which I didn't notice before.
Oh,
I don't know
the whole time.
Did he? I didn't pay attention. So
he has a severe limp the whole time. The Reverend tells Eric he should take Jenny away. Eric says the only way to cure Jenny is to show her how much she is loved. And the Reverend says, God bless you. Perhaps you are right.
She is so very fortunate
to have a loving husband like Eric.
To have someone who cares for her like he does. Right.
So then we cut to a scene with Eric and Jenny standing by the pond. Eric tries to comfort Jenny, telling her that it will not happen again. She won't have these visions again. Then they see Mickey, and Eric chases him down and blames him for the whole skull incident. Well, Mickey says it wasn't him. Eric throws him into the bushes.
And Jenny runs after him too in her heels. It's like she jumps some hurdles and stuff. It was impressive. It's like a jungle. That garden is like a jungle. It's very thick and very lush. And she goes running after Eric, who's running after Mickey. And she's in a tight skirt and heels. That woman can move.
Yeah.
And then Jenny says again, everything's in her own mind. It's not Mickey's fault. She protects Mickey a lot.
Right. So then we see Eric. He tells Jenny they need to burn the portrait of Marion because that'll solve all their problems. And we cut to a scene of Eric, and he's pouring some kind of, I assume, flammable liquid on the painting.
An accelerant, yes.
Yes.
It's about to.
And Jenny has like a wad of newspaper or something. Eric lights it, and he forces Jenny to catch the painting on fire. And it makes a very loud crackling fire. Like the crackling is just like way louder than it should be.
Yes.
Then they hear something that sounds like a scream as the painting is burning. Probably them damn peacocks.
But yeah, I think it is the peacocks. Yeah.
Eric tells Jenny it's only the peacocks. The potted plants around Marion's grave explode.
Yeah. And they cut to the pond, which is Froggy's fogging again. So lots of bubbling and fog.
Right. So then Eric, being the concerned citizen that he is, he says they need to clean up those ashes so they don't create a brush fire.
And he needs her help.
Yep. So Jenny says she feels like she destroyed Marion with her own hands and that she will come back for her. Eric puts water on the ashes. He gives Jenny a rake, tells her to rake them in. And as she's raking, Jenny uncovers what?
A skull.
A skull. And she screams. And of course, Eric doesn't see it.
Well, she faints where she almost does a backbend. I mean, it was an impressive feint because he's holding on to her and then she faints and he pretends not to see the skull. He keeps asking her, "What's wrong? What's wrong?"
Yep.
In he's total dick move. And she faints.
Then Eric picks up the skull.
Well, he leaves her passed out on the lawn.
Right, he does.
And he picks up the skull, yes.
And he has a little grin on his face as he does it.
Yes.
So Eric puts the skull in the pond under the cement ledge surrounding it, correct?
Yeah, he sinks it in the pond. Yeah.
He hides it in the pond. And Mickey sees the whole thing from the bushes. Mickey spends a lot of time in the bushes.
Yes, he does.
Someone is always in the bushes doing something. I guess it's the next morning I don't know. But the Reverend Snow arrives with some fresh eggs.
I think it's later in the day because he says they'll want them for breakfast the next day. Okay. So
that makes sense.
Because they're going to leave that night, maybe.
Eric tells the Reverend about what happened with the painting. He says he is taking Jenny away back to the hospital. Eric tells the Reverend that Jenny tried to kill herself in the past. She tried to harm herself.
Mm-hmm.
Reverend Snow says that he and Mrs. Snow have grown very fond of Jenny. And I said, in the last couple days.
I know, 48 hours. 48 hours.
And Eric says he's never coming back to the house. That's what he says.
Yes.
I don't believe him, but that's what he says. Cut to a scene with Jenny and Eric by the fireplace talking. Jenny tells Eric that the Reverend Snow told her that he believed the skull was real as she was saying goodbye to him. He said that he would have men come out and search the estate the next morning. Eric looks worried.
Eric asks her, where are they going to look? And she says, everywhere. Yeah. And you're right. He looks very nervous.
So the next thing we see is Eric going back down to the pond to try to find the skull. And Mickey is out there too, somewhere, probably in the bushes.
He took the skull.
Mickey. Eric can't find the skull. Eric gets in the pond to look even deeper, right? He jumps in.
Yeah, he's panicking.
And Mickey is crawling through the bushes. Cut to Mickey crawling through the bushes. Eric sees Mickey and runs after him. They run up to Mickey's greenhouse and they argue. Eric slaps Mickey many times, and the sound of the slaps are terrible. Whoever did
Yes,
the
they're
sound for
bad.
this movie is terrible. The crackling fire, the slaps, it's all terrible. Mickey tells Eric that Marion took the skull.
So he's back in the pond
Yep.
searching.
Eric runs back down to try to find it. After he leaves, Mickey pulls the skull out from behind some plants and he puts it in a basket.
Yeah, I have tisket tasket, skulls in the basket.
Eric goes to Marion's grave and searches for the skull. As he's doing that, he looks over at the obelisk and Marion's face on the obelisk changes to a skull. And Eric throws a flower pot at it and it smashes the flower pot.
Yeah, her face stays intact.
Yep. So then we see Mickey's taking the skull to Reverend Snow and his wife, which is the exterior of the second house we see. Right?
And he's snitching on Eric.
Yeah. And the Reverend and Mrs. Snow wonder why Eric would do such a thing.
And we all know, don't we? Why? Why would he do that?
Why would he do that?
Cash dollars.
They go back to Eric and Jenny's house. And it's nighttime. The next scene, Jenny is walking around outside calling for Mickey. She's looking for Mickey. Eric is out there. What? Hiding in the bushes.
Eric or Mickey? Who's in the bushes?
Eric. I said
Eric's
Eric is out there hiding in the bushes.
He is.
Jenny calls out to Mickey saying that she and Eric are leaving and she would like to say goodbye to him. Jenny enters Mickey's greenhouse and sees a figure in the distance. A figure in a white dress and a hat. And I wrote, just like the painting, ?
The same. Yeah, the hat. Yeah.
Yeah. Jenny runs back to the house, chased by the figure in the dress. Then we cut to a scene of Eric up in that room with that wardrobe, and he's got a piece of rope in his hand with like a slip knot in it.
Yeah, he's preparing to make it look like she commits suicide.
Right. Jenny comes running in the house screaming. Once again, we have Berlioz's Symphony Fantastique playing in the background. Eric waits around the corner and grabs Jenny as she runs past and begins to strangle her. And she falls to the ground pretty much at this point. Or, yeah.
Right. She hits the ground.
Whatever.
Yes.
Hits the floor.
And what happens?
There's a knock at the door.
More than one.
Again, there's the nice lighting as Eric goes downstairs.
It's not the same. I'm just going to throw that out there. Not the same.
It's the same lighting. It's just
he's not wearing a sheer suit, is he?
No, he's not. But it's the same lighting. There's a large shadow against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Nice lighting again, I wrote. So I think it's nice again. Eric straightens his tie and fixes his hair and goes to open the door. And what does he see when he opens it?
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's Marion.
It's Marion, or the figure in the dress with the skull for a head. Eric throws a table at it. I thought it was a small table.
No, I have a chair, but
well, that's what I read too.
He throws something.
He throws some piece of furniture at it and knocks
which
it
suddenly
over.
appears because there's no furniture in the house, but there's this piece of furniture.
Yeah. He runs back upstairs to see a skull on the steps. The skull turns and drops down the stairs towards him. Eric runs out of the house. Lightning crashes. Everywhere Eric turns, he sees the skull coming out of everywhere. Right?
Yeah, he tried the car.
He runs to his car. There's a skull sitting on the passenger seat. Everywhere he looks, he sees the skull coming at him. All the while, we periodically cut back to Jenny lying on the floor. Poor Jenny lying on the floor.
Yeah,
Is she dead? Is she gone? We don't know. Right? Eric struggles with one of the skulls.
Well, it bites him in the neck.
Yes. It tries to bite Eric on the neck. They fall into the pond. So it's basically Eric with the skull in his hands, putting it to his neck and struggling. Right?
That's what it looks. Well, yes.
I mean, pretty bad.
it's biting his neck, though.
Yeah. Then we see cut to Jenny. She gets up and walks down the stairs. She's okay after all. She goes downstairs to find what remains of the dress on the floor. So it obviously wasn't all a dream. Right?
Right.
Then the Reverend and Mrs. Snow arrive. They run up to the door. They don't knock. They just burst right in.
Jenny's melting down on the floor.
Yeah. She tries to tell them that Eric tried to strangle her. They ask where Eric is, and Jenny says she does not know. The Reverend Snow goes out and he finds Eric in the pond.
He dead.
He gone. Mr. and Mrs. Snow walk Jenny out of the house. The Reverend Snow wonders aloud, did Marion die in an accident? I guess we'll never know.
Well, because they know that Eric was after Jenny's money. They say that. So now they wonder.
Figured it all out now.
Yeah. They wonder if he killed Marion for hers.
All right. We see Mickey sitting by the pond. The Reverend and Mrs. Snow get in the car with Jenny and drive away. All of them in the front seat of the car. All three of them in the front seat. They're a nice, tight group of people. Then we cut back to Mickey back at the pond saying they are gone.
And for Marion to rest now.
The end.
Froggy's fog in the pond, bubbles, and done.
The end.
Definitely a psychological thriller. Not a lot of action going on there.
Yeah. Well, yeah, psychological. It wasn't the worst thing we've watched, I don't think.
No, I think if you had started watching the movie right where they burned the portrait till the end, you would have known everything that was going on. And that's the last, 15 minutes of it.
Yeah, probably.
You could have put it all together.
Probably could have. So I did mention that the guy who played Mickey, Alex Nicole, this was his directorial debut. And he talked the girl who played Jenny into doing it because he told her he was doing a remake of a Hitchcock film called Rebecca and took the script to her and she agreed to do it.
It wasn't terrible.
It wasn't terrible. No, it wasn't terrible. And the guy who played Eric, he co-starred with Elvis Presley in GI Blues.
Do you think this is an upgrade or a downgrade from that?
I don't know. I don't remember GI Blues. I'll have to watch it again. Yeah, and I liked how they explained away. I assumed they just rented an empty house, and didn't worry about furnishing it, and they explained it away that
they cut some corners. There's no question. Spent a lot on the car and nothing else.
The first wife was probably someone's they knew or whatever's car. I don't know though.
It wasn't terrible. It was just, I don't know. It was slow.
Yeah.
But they had to explain. And
I kind of like psychological thrillers.
I was impressed with her. I was pleasantly surprised by her not being such a victim. I mean, she was, but she did go and answer the door and throw the skull out the window.
She seemed to have a quiet confidence, and
she had some gumption.
More than she probably knew she did or let on that she did, right?
I agree. I liked her character. She was better than I would have been in that situation. Let's just say that. Unless I walked into the room and saw the plastic skull, then I'd probably blame one of my kids.
because a human skull, the jaw is not
exactly. Yes.
Things like that, right?
And it looked a little plastic.
Yep. A little bit. Have you already kind of described the things you were pleasantly surprised?
Well, I guess that would be my pleasantly surprised. Yes, I was pleasantly surprised by her character. I was disappointed that this seems to be a theme that the males in these films are horrible people. You know, the one with the brain that wouldn't die. It's just, who are these guys? I guess you can't trust. It comes down to, yet again, you can't trust anyone, especially if you win the lotto. Nobody loves you for you. Let's just put that out there. You know,
that's why I'm not telling anyone, or I haven't told anyone.
Whichever it may be.
Whichever it may be. When was this again? What year?
1958.
Okay. Anything you were very disappointed in? Particularly?
Just what I said, that you can't trust anyone.
Oh, you can't trust anyone. Men. You can't trust any
Men.
man. In the 50s and 60s, you couldn't trust men.
Well, that's why it's interesting. These films always make it, and you wonder why women don't trust men. And then we watch movies like this and we say, well, here you go. This is why we don't trust anyone.
Perhaps. Perhaps.
Well, one of the many reasons we don't. But let's not blame it all on classic horror films. But it's obviously a theme, right? It's obviously something that resonates, or they wouldn't keep doing it. Men are cads. It's kind of a theme.
Yeah, but I mean, this one does kind of, you do have the last girl in this one, right? The girl's the one that survives.
True. It is at the end, they just leave the body there and leave. I just thought, wow.
I know. Is he still in the pond when Mickey is over there?
I don't know.
Washing his face in it again.
I know.
He does.
He like kisses the water, I think.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I do enjoy a psychological thriller, so I probably liked this more than you did, I think.
I liked it once it started moving a little more.
Yeah.
I felt like, okay, I got it. I got that Mickey's special. I got that he liked Marion. I got that Eric's kind of a dick and Marion is a little bit psychologically damaged. It just seemed very slow until that moment when they burned the painting, and then it picked up. And then, then all of a sudden it reverses completely, where we know Eric's doing the skull and all that, but who's doing it to Eric? It's the real deal. He's getting karma payback for what he's doing.
Yeah, this is a real ghost story here.
Oh, okay. Not a Scooby-Doo.
No, it's a real ghost story. Funny you should mention Scooby-Doo, though. The actress who played Jenny did a lot of voiceover work, and I believe she did some Scooby-Doo stuff.
As who?
Shit, I don't know. Hold on. Oh, yeah. The new Scooby and Scrappy-Doo show. She did a voice in one of the episodes of that.
Okay.
In 1983. Episode called Scooby the Barbarian / No Sharking Zone. Scooby and his friends help the Norwegian Navy unravel a mystery. Daphne investigates the sudden appearance of a menacing shark. There you go.
So how many drinks would you say it took you to get through this?
Well, let's talk about our drink first. What did you think of the drink?
Thought it was good.
The spooky skull. Yeah, it was good. The amaretto almond liqueur and the apple juice, I think, worked very well together.
Full disclosure, I didn't use the black spiced rum. I don't know what that is.
I used spiced rum.
I don't know if it's only a color difference or if there's actually something special in the black spiced rum.
Yep, I did too. I used spiced rum and then made my black food coloring and put it in. All of which you can watch on our YouTube channel.
Is it in the recipe den?
It is in the recipe den as well on our website, scaryspirits.com.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Didn't say were you disappointed in anything?
The main thing that disappointed me was, like I said, the sound. Whoever
that was bad. Yeah.
Terrible. Crackling fire, the slaps, they weren't even right. And they sounded bad. They were off time. Yeah.
Did you enjoy anything specifically?
Well, like I said,
the lighting.
I liked it more than you did. I enjoy a psychological thriller, and it's kind of nice having a movie where it's not some guy in a rubber mask. It's
true.
It's an actual spirit or something.
And I think it was a good story. I think it would hold up. It wasn't anything like Jan in a Pan. It wasn't something that was so ridiculous that it was unbelievable. It was definitely believable.
Right. So what, how many cocktails do you think?
I'd get 2 or 3. What do you think? 2? It's pretty good, really,
I'll go,
relative to movies we've watched, but
I'll go 3.
relative to movies that we're going to watch, we should probably give it a 3.
I'll go 3. That's the same we gave Dementia 13.
Okay. It's pretty similar, I think.
Dementia 13 is better, I think, but pretty
But
close.
in a different way. Yes.
I enjoyed it, I have to say, all in all. It wasn't a bad hour spent. You know what I mean?
I agree.
I didn't think, oh my God, that's an hour of my life I'll never get back again.
We've had some of those.
Probably more to come. So, Karen, anything we've learned today?
Don't be a dick. Or don't tell anyone when you win the lotto.
Yeah. We learned that a mid-50s Mercedes-Benz 300 SL Gullwing is worth probably over $1 million today, in good shape.
It is an impressive car. You should, if nothing else, take a look at that.
Do you want to talk about upcoming movie?
Oh, yeah. So, Greg, it's your turn. What are you going to pick next?
Have
you not chosen yet?
I was thinking, I kind of have. I was kind of on the fence, but I think I'm going to go with the 1934 black and white unrated film, Maniac.
Maniac.
Would you like to know the drink I have chosen?
Is it called the Maniac?
Close. It's called the Homicidal Maniac.
What are we going to need to gather for that?
We're going to need vodka. We have vodka, don't we? We're going to need peach.
If we don't, we should.
We're going to need peach schnapps, which I don't have any of, so I have to get some of that. And we're going to need cranberry apple juice. So I guess a cranberry apple juice mixture, which I have both of those. I'll just mix my own.
Me too. I'm going to make my own.
We're going to mix 1 ounce of cranberry and 1 ounce of apple juice to make 2 ounces of cranberry apple juice for this recipe. So vodka, peach schnapps, cranberry apple juice, the Homicidal Maniac.
Sounds fruity.
Anything else?
Well,
we have to thank Verse 13 for once again letting us use their music, right?
Absolutely.
Anything else, Karen?
Just this. Remember, always drink responsibly.
Yes.
Another podcast has come to an end. If you can't get enough of us, follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Scary Spirits Podcast. If you have questions or comments, email us at scaryspiritspodcast@gmail.com. Check out the website at scaryspirits.com. You can find us on YouTube at Scary Spirits Podcast. And if you feel like being our walking billboard, we have a link to our merch store right on our website. And if you're looking for the recipes for our themed drinks, you'll find all of them in the Recipe Den on our website. And remember, if you really want to help us out, leave us a 5-star review. As always, thanks so much for listening.